Okay, how do all the ways to generate electricity actually stack up?
You and I have an insatiable appetite for electricity. Come with me and we'll look at the issues relative to wind farms and the communities that they serve. This is the Windfarm Guy.
Hi, this is Dennis Stout and thank you for joining me for this episode of the Windfarm Guy. Electricity generation costs and trade-offs vary widely across energy sources. You better hang on because today is the first of two episodes where I give you a lot of data points and an overview of costs in dollars per kilowatt hours, 2025 estimates, and key trade-offs including construction costs, build times, land footprint, water use, environmental impact, and emerging technologies. So here we go. Fossil fuels, coal, costs between 8 and 15 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time is $3,000 to $4,000 per kilowatt. Takes 4 to 6 years. The footprint is moderate. Water use is high. Environmental, high emissions, primarily CO2 and SO2 and other air pollution. Trade-offs, cheap fuel but declining due to environmental regulations. Natural gas costs between 4 cents and 8 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. Build costs and time between $1,000 and $1,500 per kilowatt. Takes 2 to 3 years to build. The footprint is low because it uses smaller plants. Water use is moderate. Environmental, well, there's a lower CO2 than coal, but there's a methane leakage concern. The trade-offs are it's flexible and reliable, but has a fossil fuel dependency. Other fossil fuels, like oil, cost between 10 cents and 20 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time is $1,500 to $2,500 per kilowatt and takes 2 to 4 years to build. The footprint is moderate. Water use is high. Environmental, high emissions, and they're limited use due to cost. Now, renewables, wind, onshore wind, costs between 3 and 6 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time is $1,200 to $2,000 per kilowatt and takes 1 to 2 years to build. The footprint is large for the total leased land, but a small actual use for the turbines, and it can still be farmed. Water use is negligible. Environmental, low emissions, but there are some bird and wildlife impacts. Trade-offs, cost competitive, intermittent, and need storage to overcome that. PV solar costs between 3 and 7 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time is $1,000 to $1,800 per kilowatt and takes 1 to 2 years to build. The footprint is moderate, land for the solar panels. Water use is low, primarily for cleaning those panels. The environmental impacts are the low emissions, but there are some panel disposal concerns. The trade-offs are it's scalable, intermittent, which supports storage, and costs are declining. Concentrated solar power, CSP, costs between 9 and 18 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time is $3,000 to $6,000 per kilowatt and takes 2 to 4 years. The footprint is high. Water use, also high. Environmental, very low emissions, and land use impact. The trade-offs, well, it needs storage capability and has higher costs. Hydro costs between 2 and 10 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time, $2,000 to $5,000 per kilowatt and takes 5 to 10 years. The footprint is large because it has a reservoir that it has to back up. Water use, high. Environmental ecosystem disruption, but low emissions. The trade-offs, it's reliable, long lifespan, but site-specific. Bioenergy costs between 7 and 15 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time, $2,000 to $4,000 per kilowatt and takes 2 to 4 years. The footprint is moderate. Water use, also moderate. Environmental, Well, it's CO2 neutral if sustainable, and the land use. The trade-offs are it's flexible and biomass availability has its limits. Wave and tidal, the cost between 20 and 40 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time is 4,000 to 10,000 per kilowatt and takes 3 to 5 years to build. The footprint is low, it's ocean-based. The water use is negligible. Environmental, well, there is a marine ecosystem impact. The trade-offs, well, it's emerging, high costs, and site-specific. Nuclear and emerging technologies. Nuclear and emerging technologies. Nuclear, meaning traditional nuclear, costs between 6 and 12 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time is $6,000 to $10,000 per kilowatt and takes 7 to 12 years to build. The footprint is low, water use is high, environmental, well, there are low emissions, but there are some waste storage concerns. The trade-offs, it's reliable, but has high upfront costs. Small modular reactors, or SMRs, cost between 8 and 15 cents per kilowatt hour to produce, at least that's the projection. The build cost and time is $3,000 to $7,000 per kilowatt and takes 3 to 5 years to build. The footprint is low, the water use is moderate, and environmental has very low emissions with reduced waste. The availability, well, hopefully commercial by 2030. The trade-offs, scalable, safer, and still in development. Green hydrogen costs between 20 and 50 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. The build cost and time, $2,000 to $5,000 per kilowatt, and it takes 2 to 4 years. The footprint is low, water use is moderate, and environmental, low emissions, and energy-intensive production. The availability, scaling up by 2030, and the trade-offs, it's versatile but has high current costs. Other renewables, geothermal, costs between 5 cents and 10 cents per kilowatt hour to produce. High upfront costs and site-specific. Emerging, like floating solar, enhanced geothermal, costs between 10 and 30 cents per kilowatt hour to produce, and hopefully commercial by 2030 to 2035. If you like what I've said today, be sure and click like and subscribe below. If you have thoughts or want me to address a particular topic relative to wind farms, please also leave me a comment. Fossil fuels remain cheap but environmentally harmful. Renewables like wind and solar are cost competitive but require storage for reliability. Nuclear and SMRs offer stability but face high costs and long timelines. Emerging technologies like green hydrogen and tidal are promising but expensive and not yet scalable. The trade-offs involve balancing cost, environmental impact, and infrastructure needs. These cost estimates reflect levelized cost of energy, or LCOE, which include capital, operation, maintenance, and fuel costs over the plant's lifetime. However, trade-offs extend beyond economics, impacting scalability, reliability, and sustainability. In the next video, I'll delve deeper into emerging technologies and their timelines. This is Dennis Stout, and I'm the Windfarm Guy.
Thank you for watching. Working together, we can make good energy decisions and save our planet. I am the Windfarm Guy.